Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa D'Amico with the Rockland Arts Festival, and I have the wonderful pleasure of speaking to the super talented Eric Kollin. Eric, it's so nice to talk to you about your work. I'm a huge fan, so take it away.
I'll do what I can. So my name is Eric Kollin. I've been painting for over 30 years, but I hadn't been showing. I worked in education, I worked in technology education. So in the beginning, it was a struggle to try to be an illustrator and also teach. So my illustration wasn't really doing very well because I wasn't really devoting the time to it. And I wasn't really authentic because I was really trying to sell it to an audience. And the teaching was being compromised because I spent all my spare time trying to be an illustrator. And then I stopped trying to sell the work commercially. I just did it on my own when I could. And that now we're 35 years later, the teaching career took off. I eventually retired. And in my retirement, I decided to apply to the Rockland County Arts Festival, which was the first thing I applied to in many, many years. And so it's kind of begun a journey now of over the last year since becoming part of the Rockland Arts Festival. My work has been shown somewhere in some group show throughout the year. I mean, it hasn't not been shown. I have two pieces up now, and I'm having a solo show in Riverdale, New York in March, April. So this has been an incredible journey. And for me, the shock was just knowing for someone who started really painting in the 80s, would my work still be valid? Would my voice be dated? And I found that there's acceptance, and the Rockland Arts Festival events have kind of helped me see that because I got to interact with an audience and stuff. Now, in terms of the work itself, I don't know. People say, describe your work, and I don't have a definition. It's surrealistic, it's sarcastic, it's cartoony, it's painterly. So, if someone can come up with a definition, I'd be happy. I haven't yet, but it's usually some sort of emotional or social commentary. So the works that I've been doing over the past few years that I've been completing have really been about power struggles. And it may have been an influence by what was happening in the country in terms of the politics of respecting power over working together. So just to briefly show, this is a piece that I had put in last year, and it's the cowboy, which is, the show, it represents America in some ways, and the plane, which has become sort of this animal, and there, the cowboy is trying to rein in the plane is resisting. And then I did this thing I called the Queen's Escape, and it's just playing cards. And also it's about them trying to kind of, do their thing to her, and her resisting in a way, or escaping. In some ways it was influenced by the Me Too movement. So the Matador comes in, and now so I bought this book years ago at Strand called The Bullfight. It was a black and white book, and it sat on my shelf just doing nothing for all these years. And finally I said, I'm looking for a theme, and I'm going through all these different books, and now, okay, I take the central figure and I work with that. But actually the first thing was just a napkin sketch. So I have I'm at a diner, and I'm constantly ripping up stuff from the diners when I get bored. And I want to take the idea of this flowing cape being this sort of magical thing, but knowing kind of the contradiction. This bull will be killed. So I'm fascinated by this whole idea of the matador, the pageantry of it. They look like superheroes. It's like royalty, and they're treated like gods and goddesses. And it's so savage. And they're both equally true. I don't dismiss the beauty of the event because of the savagery of it. I have to kind of work that in. So, I mean, that's the reality of it. And I know it's now been banned in certain places, and a lot of people are feeling the loss of it, But then again, there's a loss because it is so savage and so cruel. So you can kind of see behind me. So the process was, we'll talk about the process a little. Ideas. I blow up the ideas because I always like to try to keep the layout as it originally was. I did my research. I found, booklets from other countries that talk about the matador. And then I finally did the sketch, which turned, now I'm doing the sketches much bigger, which I can really work on and work out the details. And so that becomes my framework for doing the painting. I'm not quite sure I'm even satisfied with the results, because with this, I can go in so many different directions. And every color I put down could potentially be the wrong color. So it's a kind of a nerve-wracking experience. But here's the result. And that's what's been accepted for the show. I'm now getting prints of it now. So if people, want to take it home, they can. And that's it about the piece. I only work in acrylics. Well, other than pencil and pen. With colors, it's just acrylics. And there is a certain illusion that it is watercolor. And if you look at certain parts, it can get thicker or thin. So I like that idea. I like going out of frame, because, a frame is just another constraint. And I think that's about it for the work. Part of me even wants to do this one again, completely different, because I like the layout. And, it can go in different directions.
Okay, Eric, I just find it fascinating that you've got this technical background, and there is no element really of modern technology in your work. Your work is very authentically artistic.
Well, I went to school of I went to SUNY Purchase for my first 2 years of college. I went to School of Visual Arts for my last 2 years. So I did have training in illustration. But for me, there's always been a constant battle between the left and the right brain. And sometimes it's worked to my advantage, and sometimes it hasn't. I was a database designer part-time when I was teaching computers in the New York City school system. So there's always this very logical part that I struggled with math in high school, yet I got 100 on the algebra regents. So there's always been this kind of struggle back and forth, and which has made life somewhat unpredictable and sometimes uncomfortable. Now I'm better at riding the waves of my moods when I shift left and right, so that, I can live a peaceful existence. But it's hard for me sometimes to imagine someone that exists only in the right or only in the left. They don't have this kind of back and forth. And I think there's a loss there, because there's a beauty on both sides. It took me years to really figure out the beauty of math, which is not the numbers, which I felt was like, oh my God, they're like putting handcuffs. It's the relationship between the numbers. And a similar thing in art. It's a relationship between the colors. So I don't know how different it is in the end.
Your work is spectacular. I think that's the way to define it. And for everyone listening, I strongly recommend that please, of course, see Eric's work in the festival. Come and meet Eric on February 5th, but follow Eric on social media and check out his website. But please go to Riverdale. I'm coming to Riverdale. I need to know when this is, because
yes, I'm trying to arrange the date now, so I will let you know.
Work in person is, it's delicious. It's an experience that, I can't recommend highly enough. So thank you so much for talking to me today.
And Lisa, thank you for talking to me and for organizing all this and giving us opportunities that we wouldn't have had. So thank you.